Freddie Mercury, musical genius, stage man, immortal performance. The whole world seemed to know everything about him, but there was one thing that only Freddie kept to himself. In his final months, when his health was getting worse, he spent time writing in a diary. No one was allowed to read it, no relatives were allowed to touch it. And after Freddie passed away, that diary disappeared as if it had never existed. One of his close friends once said, if he wanted to say something, he would sing it. If he wrote it in that diary, it meant it wasn't for anyone. So what did Freddie Mercury write in the last pages of his life? Why did he hide it so carefully? And what made those closest to him keep silent for more than 30 years?
Freddie Mercury was not born in England. He was born Farrukh Bulsara on Zanzibar, a small island off the east coast of Africa. His parents were of Indian descent, practicing Zoroastrianism, an ancient religion that values inner silence and deep spiritual values. From a young age, Freddie lived as a child who belonged nowhere. At boarding school in India, he was teased by his classmates for his buck teeth, his strange voice, and the way he was so absorbed in music. Instead of reacting, Freddie wrote down every emotion on scraps of paper, sometimes on the back of his notebooks. Once, a teacher caught Freddie writing music in maths class. When he was asked to hand in the paper, he begged, "Please don't read it out loud, it's only for me." At the time, no one understood. But for Freddie, music and writing were the only way to survive. When his family emigrated to England due to political conflict, he took very little with him, but there were always small notebooks in his suitcase, full of half-written lines, unfinished music, and things he couldn't sing. Once, a friend told Freddie Mercury, "If I don't write it down, I'll go crazy, but if anyone reads it, I'll collapse." Perhaps it was that childhood, full of movement, strangeness, and silence, that created a Freddie Mercury who was both brilliant on stage and quietly withdrawn in real life.
Fame and the unimaginable price. In the 70s and 80s, Freddie Mercury was a global phenomenon. With the band Queen, he created immortal music such as Bohemian Rhapsody, We Are the Champions, Don't Stop Me Now. Huge stadiums exploded. Millions of audiences were captivated. But behind the halo, Freddie was not like what the public thought. He did not party as rumored, did not like flashy interviews. He often quietly retreated to the studio alone, just to write, and write. Close friends said that Freddie often wrote in black notebooks, not just song lyrics, but raw, torn emotions, questions about himself, about love, and death. Loneliness grew with each success. Freddie loved a lot, but also had many disappointments. Each passing love left a void that music could not fill. And then, rumors of a terrible illness began to spread. Freddie avoided all questions. No one was sure, but he grew thinner, quieter, and more withdrawn from the world. It was during this time that he was seen writing more than ever. The notebooks grew thicker, and Freddie no longer shared them with anyone.
Truth, fear, and active silence. In the late 1980s, Freddie Mercury was diagnosed with HIV, AIDS. It was more than just a disease. For Freddie, it was a death sentence. The end of everything he had lived for. The stage, the lights, the applause, the freedom. Freddie did not come out. He did not write letters. He did not beg for sympathy. Instead, he gradually disappeared from the public eye, only emerging when he had to, and spent most of his final years in Garden Lodge, the house he called his last kingdom. There, he wrote every day. His housekeeper said that Freddie would sit alone for hours in his study, the door closed, with a long cold cup of tea and a black-covered notebook beside him. When asked, he simply said, "I write for myself. After all, who cares?" It is said that, in those pages, Freddie did not write songs. He wrote things that could not be sung, about the love he kept hidden, about the fear of his body betraying him, about friends he lost to illness and things he knew the public would never understand. That diary, no one ever read it. After Freddie died, it was not in his will. No one mentioned it. No one claimed to have seen it. And that is what made it the biggest secret he left behind.
In the final months of 1991, Freddie Mercury barely left Garden Lodge. His body was failing rapidly, his steps were slow, his eyes were sunken, but in the quiet of the house, he kept writing. Mary Austin, Freddie's lifelong friend and heiress, said that Freddie wrote until his last days, though his hands shook, though the light in his eyes began to fade. No one knew what he wrote. No one was allowed to enter the room where he kept his final pages. In his final days, he made a strange request. "When I die, cremate me, but don't tell anyone where my ashes are. And don't ever open that notebook." Mary kept her word. She was the only person who knew where Freddie's ashes were, and the only person who knew exactly where the diary was, or whether it still existed. When the press came calling, when the world mourned, Mary said only one thing. Freddie gave everything he had to the stage, but the rest was his own. Some believe the diary was burned with him, a symbolic gesture that Freddie wanted to take his deepest secrets with him forever. Others believe it is still there, hidden somewhere in Garden Lodge, locked like his soul, a room no one can enter, a story no one can read. And that is why no one is allowed to read Freddie Mercury's final diary. Not because it was a secret, but because it was the last thing he was free to keep to himself.
Freddie Mercury once said, "I don't want to be a legend. I just want to be a free man." He lived as a legend, but he died as a man searching for the ultimate freedom. Freedom from the gaze, from the judgment, from the stage. And in that life, the only place he had complete control over was the last pages of his life, the diary that no one was allowed to open. You might wonder, what is in there that the whole world doesn't know? But perhaps the more correct question is, do we deserve to know it if Freddie doesn't want to share it? You have just seen a little-known story about Freddie Mercury, a man whose heart was filled with music, but was always lonely in his own glory. If you love stories like this, the untold secrets of music legends, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on the hidden star's next adventures.